Today on Fork the City, we're joined by Carina Castagna, the founder and CEO of Pesto Joe. What began as a family tradition making pesto at home eventually became the foundation for a real food business after Carina decided to bring her dad's recipe to market. She's since turned Pesto Joe into a growing brand, navigating everything from production to farmers markets to online sales. Today, we're talking about how she built it, what it actually takes to start a food company from scratch. Carina, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining Fork This City.
Thank you so much for bringing me on. I'm excited to share more about our family business and I'm excited for you all to try it.
So we're gonna jump right into it and ask you, what is your background and how Pesto Joe came to be?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a born and raised New Jersey native. My family is indeed Italian, if you couldn't tell by my last name. Sounds like lasagna, but it's Castagna with a C. I grew up in Jersey. I went to private schooling, Eastern Christian to be exact. Grew up in a small town. Behind me is a 40-acre horse farm. In front of me is a mountain and a lake. So I grew up being outdoors, loving hiking, boating, snowboarding, horseback riding, whatever the weather was outside is kind of what I adapted to. I never intentionally began my entrepreneurial journey wanting to be an entrepreneur. I seemingly tend to be on the other half of where entrepreneurs come from. So all entrepreneurs tend to be problem solvers, and my problem was deeply personal. I lost my dad far too early in life. I was finishing up college. I was 22 at the time when he passed. And that just kind of hit me like a train, as it would anyone when you lose someone close enough to you, especially a father at such a young age. And my business wasn't built behind a spreadsheet at a desk. It wasn't me running schematics, trying to figure out what problem should I solve in the world to try and hustle and figure it out. It started with a broken heart and really bringing something meaningful for me and my family to bring other families together.
I know a little bit of the context is that you found one of your dad's pesto batches in the freezer after he had passed
Yeah.
away. And I
Yeah.
think what I would love to know is kind of what went through your head in that moment and why did that specific jar change everything for you?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. To give a little bit of a background to know why that would have even been in the freezer. So my dad was not a cook, despite him being Italian. He has very dark, leathery skin, black hair. His father, my grandfather, came actually on the ship over to the United States. So I grew up very Americanized. But the Italian recipe of his pesto was truly uniquely my dad's from his father from Italy. And that was his one claim to fame. My dad would burn bread, he would burn water, but his pesto was phenomenal. And so friends and family would always joke around saying, "Oh, like Pesto Joe, bring your stuff." My dad's name is Joe. And so my dad would make it during the summer. We'd grow our own basil. I grew up making it with him. And it was one of those surreal moments where you realize it's the last, at least for me, it was the last one. Because in moments when you lose someone close to you, there's these weird moments where it becomes hyper aware that that's it. Um, and me opening the freezer and seeing my dad's last pesto batch was exactly that. I can't exactly name an exact emotion. I think it was just a flood of a lot of emotions. What I can say is it kept me from taking the pesto out. To this day, it's still in the freezer. I can't take it out because it's the last one he ever made. And that just kind of stuck with me. I didn't necessarily at that point know that I wanted to start a business based on that pesto, but it hit me and it struck me in such a profound way that it allowed me to later reflect on it and bring to life something that my dad loved to make, something that united me and my family together, and to keep a piece of my dad with me.
That's such a beautiful story.
Yeah, I love that.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. So when did you realize that you wanted to start a business making pesto?
Great question. So, going along in my journey growing up, I went to Seton Hall University. It's a great school based here in New Jersey. And I actually went back for my graduate program right after my father had passed. I was kind of doing a dual degree. And it was a personal decision. I was already enrolled, and it just kind of gave me a routine to rely on. And I think at that point in my time, I really needed that. So, I was okay to continue school. And I'm thankful that I did because during that time, the business school called Stillman allowed different students to pitch a business idea and join a 6-week summer program. It was an accelerator program, and we're the Seton Hall Pirates. When I say Pirate Accelerator, that's why. And it was then that both of those moments just kind of married each other because opening the freezer and seeing that was very recent to when I saw the ad in one of the buildings for pitch a business, get some seed funding, and get it going. At that time, I applied for it. I had not sold anything. I had only made it for friends and family. It wasn't anything tested, tried, or true. It was just an opportunity that I'm glad that I took. And so that 6 weeks, actually, my mom and I traveled cross country together to spend some grieving time together, especially since I kind of kept my nose to the grindstone and stayed in school and finished that up. So we're in an old Ram van driving for over a month. We went all the way down through Texas, Tennessee. We went out to Utah. We did a bunch of national parks, and all that time, every Friday, I'd log on. I'd have that Zoom call. I'd learn about marketing and customer research and all of these things. And I would have phone calls and I would check in at the local stores to see what was selling. And yes, it started with something really personal because it is my dad's pesto sauces, but I also realized the unique opportunity for us to bring our pestos to market because there's really no brand dominance in the space. Because I could ask either of you, you're both foodies, which I love. If your mom or your dad said, "Hey Josh, hey Gabby, can you run to the store and grab me a jar of pesto?"
I
What
could
brand are you
I
grabbing?
couldn't tell you one brand.
Yeah,
Right?
I
Like,
couldn't either.
Exactly. So I noticed that when I started having these conversations, and I was like, you know what, this comes from my heart and there's a lot of intention behind it, but there's also this great opportunity for Pesto Joe to become the name of pesto. So that's what we're
hmm.
going after.
What kind of fears or doubts did you have? Obviously, starting a company is like such a tremendous undertaking. Was there one
Yeah.
thing in the back of your head that was like, oh boy, this is going to be a challenge?
I think early on, uniquely, there was almost like a blissful oversight because I had so much grief of my own that it made anything else look easy, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Because I was carrying so much weight, it almost gave me the fuel in the fire to push through it. Almost like, for example, I picked up distance running recently, and I've recently been moving. I don't know if either of you know this. Quick side note: we had a house fire a year and a
Oh
half
my
ago.
God.
I know. And I'm finally home. My mom and I just moved back 2 months ago. But we moved 5 times in under a month.
Oh my God.
So there was a lot to juggle that I think like more recently has been a lot of concerns and tribulations, especially balancing the business amidst such like a hearty personal life circumstance.
Mm.
It was a full rebuild, so it took a really long time. It was almost 2 years for the full rebuild to happen. I'm really excited to be sitting in my new office now and kicking this off. So this starts 2026 on a high note for me. But for example, me going on a run, I have the emotions and the intention behind it that helps me push through really long distance runs. Similarly, so when I started this business with my, of course I have one, our fresh pesto sauces. Ah, nice! And the Fra Diavolo too. Good. I'm excited to hear your opinion on that. Was my heart was so broken that the last thing I was worried about is how hard it's
Hmm.
going to be because
Hmm.
I was already going through the hardest thing possible. What I can say is I'm happy that I didn't know all that I would face because I feel like so many times entrepreneurs we get caught in thought land of, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? But what if I've learned if nothing is just trip forward a little bit and it's okay to stumble, but just learn to pick yourself back up because if you're tripping forward, at least you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And it might not be pretty, but it's real. And I'm really happy and supportive that it also makes it more relatable. It's not as polished. I'm not sitting in a boardroom. I'm not pitching investors at this exact moment. But this is how a brand is built, and this is where community matters.
That makes a lot of sense. And are you making all this pesto at home or are you going somewhere to do it or renting a space? What does that look like?
It's a good question. So at first, growing up, it was made in our kitchen. We would grow our own basil, and we did that all of ourselves as a family. Once I started to learn the food laws and how I needed to operate, since our product is fresh, I did need a commercial space. I'm there in North Jersey. I'm not how familiar you are with Passaic County. So the closest like main city area is actually in New York State, just
Okay.
because I'm on that border. And so we rent a space over in New York and we operate, we have our own facility, or I should say our own operations within the facility. So I operate a commercial space where we self-manufacture.
And then going
Very
off,
cool.
yeah, very cool. And then going off that,
Thank
what
you.
does producing pesto at scale actually look like for you? I know that's a little bit similar to what Gabby asked, but
Sure.
it has to be a challenge. It can't, I can't imagine you wake up every day and it's like, this is super easy.
No, it's not. Something that my mom would actually laugh about. So me and my mom do this together. And we source our basil from local farms in New Jersey, especially just because the freshness and the quality is something that really matters to us. Something that I'll often say is we focus on quality ingredients so you can focus on quality time. So that's a big
Mm.
mission behind how and why we source everything and how it has that great taste. So when we pick up our basil, my mom has to go through the whole production run prior to me stepping in and making it, of washing it, prepping it, cutting it, because we're not getting it in a service package because I don't want to source from a restaurant depot. I don't want a generic basil. I want high quality, fresh ingredients. And so going through that end of it is definitely very lengthy process that we'll have to kind of figure out a more quicker process as we scale because I don't want to ever have to sacrifice the quality of what we're making. But that always looks like a production and a half because we'll drive to the greenhouse, we'll pick up the basil from the farms, we'll wash it, we'll dry it, we'll pick it, we'll sort it, then we have to start measuring everything. It's not a robotic owned warehouse, so it's not this huge, grandiose thing. It's me, my mom, and a blender, but it makes the delicious sauce that you get to try today.
So it's just the two of you in this space making
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
hard
it's a
work.
lot.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a labor of love. Sometimes I'll always kid around when customers will try it at our farmers market. So like, oh, this is so good. Why is it so good? And I'll of course explain it's fresh ingredients. We use Italian ingredients in here as well as local ingredients to keep that flavor real and authentic. But it's also made with love. It's not made in a factory. A robot doesn't pour it. There's a lot of intention behind it, and I want it to feel homey because that's exactly what it is. In the depths of the summer, when we're amidst all of our farmers markets, it's pandemonium, especially this past year when we were balancing moving the 5 times in between then, because we have anywhere between 4 to 6 farmers markets a week. And then moving on top of making on the couple of days that we're not selling. So it's definitely a labor of love. It takes a lot of time and effort, but it's something that I have in motion now that's already existing. And I'm happy to now kind of fix it in the areas that I need to in order to scale it bigger and better.
That makes sense. I love a good
Yeah.
farmer's market.
Yeah.
Oh, me too. And I'm happy that we actually got to start at farmers markets. I don't know if this is side tangent, so you can always cut me off if I'm going on a
Mm.
side tangent. But when we were doing the online program, when I was initially laying out my business plan, truth be told, in those moments, I didn't have the foresight of a 5-year plan that I anticipated continuing this. It was just very real, raw moment of I need to materialize all of my emotions into this. And that helped me in a lot of ways, and I'm happy that it did. But the professor leading it called me on it and said, Karina, to this point, you haven't sold anything. You haven't proven that anyone even wants it. I'm really challenging you to try and sell one.
Mm.
So I went to our local farmers market and I set up a table and I was able to start having those conversations of, hi, my name's Karina. These are my dad's pesto sauces. Which one would you like to try? What's your opinion? And having that immediate feedback is also so helpful, especially early on, and something that I'm grateful to continue today because I don't need to hire someone for quality control.
Mm.
I'm doing the quality control on the manufacturing end, but the customers that come by every week to pick up 1 or 2 or 3 jars know in real time that it's the same, or they'd call me on it. Once in a while, like a Fra Diavolo batch will end up a little bit spicier than another. And I remind them it's made in a small batch. I apologize. A little bit of these tweaks in there, things are there, but I'll note it and I'll cut it back a little bit. So I've always appreciated the grassroots growth that we've had because it is small, but it's real. And I've gotten to meet and talk to the families that have been from us since day one. And I'm always appreciative of the families that join us later on. And getting to be a part of someone's weekly routine at a farmer's market is just something that's so fun and special too.
Was there, obviously you kind of just described it. You're working a lot of roles. Your mom goes
Yes.
to source some of the ingredients, you're packaging, you're making between production, marketing, sales, admin. How do you decide kind of where to spend your time when everything feels so important? So many brands now are making a name off social media. How much
Yeah.
stock do you put into that versus,
Yeah.
non-social marketing? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on all that.
Sure, I can attack that on 2 fronts. First of all, is our schedule tends to be very cyclical, especially with just the two of us. So the winter time, such as now, gives me the time where I can really network, reach out. I got to connect with you, Josh, and I'm so happy that I did. And then I also have back end time to do the budgeting, forecasting. I get to catch up on my accounting. So it's a little bit of a speed track during the summer months, especially when it's in high paced 6 farmers markets a week. And then I get to pick it back up in the winter and prepare. So there's the kind of the cyclicality currently as to just the way our schedule is currently run. I just have to know when it's in season, preseason, postseason, almost as if it was a football game. So I kind of
Mhm.
approach it like that, like an athlete. But then there's also the part where I have built the community in person, and now I'm really looking to bring that community online. I stayed off online pretty early on, not necessarily anything intentional. If anything, I think it was just because I was still so raw in all of my emotions. I didn't yet feel ready to do a comfortable, confident pitch. It was still something like close to my heart, which it is, but I'm not necessarily going to cry on cue if someone asks me a certain question versus very early on when I was selling somebody, especially coming off of COVID not that long ago either. A lot of individuals lost family members, and we would have a heart to heart of, oh, yeah, my mom used to make these cookies, so I make these cookies in memory of my mom. I understand you making this in memory of dad because food and family is so closely tied together. And I'll still get teary, but I'm not as raw as I once was. So I didn't want to be inconsiderate of capturing someone else in those raw moments either. So I stayed off of social media, really built the community in person that I'm so grateful for. But understanding how important social media is and now having my feet back under me, especially after moving back home, I'm really excited to bring that community online and do a lot more sharing who we are, what we're doing, get our samples out there and continue to grow our business.
As Pesto Joe continues to grow, what does success look like for you? Is it making the company like worldwide? What does the scale of that look like? Legacy or something else?
Good question. I think it's a culmination of a couple of those things. First and foremost, I'm focusing on legacy. I think that's also a reason behind this brand as to why it hits home for so many people because I'm not doing something that's on trend. This is something very real and personal, and I want it to feel that way because it is that way. So I'm focusing on the legacy business part of it, especially because there's so many food brands like Oreos or you can name like any soup brand. Sauces specifically, I feel like are just so uniquely specifically tied to Italian families that they've been established. They've been around since we've been born, since our parents have been born, some of them since our grandparents were around, and that's where that brand recognition comes in. And Gen Z has done such a fun job shaking up the space a little bit in the grocery aisle of fun big pictures and different fonts. I'm bringing it back a little bit back to the roots. This is something very personal to me that this is my family's recipe, this is my dad's recipe, and this is my way of bringing your family together over a meal. And that's something so sacred and something we often miss in our busy culture, all working and driving and running around. Most of our customers have kids, so balancing sports while both parents are working, it's a lot. And I don't want families to miss out on those special family moments and dinner times because coming from someone who can't just call my dad and have a meal with him anymore, mm, you know. So I'm really excited to build the legacy part of it and have the intention and the impact on it. But I would be lying if I said I didn't want to go big or go home, right?
Mhm.
Like, so I started it off with a broken heart and wanting to commemorate my dad and help myself through my own grief, but it also turned into something much bigger. And I'm excited to become the name brand of pesto nationwide. It doesn't exist. We have every reason to be that brand. We're going to have new flavors coming out. I currently the flavors have a nut in it just because that's the way that my family had always made it, but I recognize there's some allergies. So down the line, I would be definitely open to making something more family friendly for those who have an allergy. In front of me, I'll show you this. I had met Mr. Wonderful, so I think it's blurred. Here you
Oh
go.
yeah,
Legacy.
I've seen
Okay,
it on your
yeah.
Instagram too. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you. So I met Mr. Wonderful. We're working hard to get on Shark Tank. So I'm
Love
I'm
it.
going bigger, I'm going home. I feel like there's a certain point in life where worst comes to worst, it doesn't happen, but you tried.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going for.
I
I
would love to see you on Shark
I would
Tank.
love to see you on Shark Tank. First of all,
Oh, thank you.
You
and
saw her here first.
and Mr. Wonderful
Yes,
was Justin Marty Supreme, so it's very relevant to get him.
totally.
It's a perfect segue because I
Yep.
wanted to talk about flavors. Right now, you have four: Fra Diavolo, Garlic Lovers, the traditional, and the Pirate Pesto. First, I want
Mhm.
to talk to you about the Pirate Pesto. I know you went Seton Hall. Go
Yes.
Pirates.
Go Pirates.
How did that flavor specifically come to be? Obviously, NIL is such a big topic today in the sports world, being able to use
Yeah.
logos and all that. So I'd love to hear that came together. and how that flavor was, ideated on and put in the market.
Definitely cool. So I will share a little bit about how that even came up. So, like most great opportunities, it's not something you can always measure or anticipate. Sometimes things just come into life and you either follow up on it or you don't. And the athletic director of Seton Hall had approached me and they were trying to be creative in their NIL deals. For anyone not caught up, more or less, college athletes and college sports have changed a lot in the past couple of years. Students are now paid for different brand deals. They're able to use name, image, and likeness, which is exactly what NIL stands for. And so for smaller universities, as great as they are, such as Seton Hall University, with either fewer endowments or lesser scholarships available to be able to pay some of our students, sometimes our student athletes get bought out more or less by bigger institutions with a deeper pocket, quite literally. It's unfortunate. I think we can all have our own private opinion on it, but at the same time, that's the way that, the design of college sports has kind of come to be what it is. So when the athletic director approached me and said he was looking for alumni-owned businesses, product-based, some of them have to do with like local liquors, some of them are more handbag accessory related, such as like watches. Mine's for pesto. So pirate pesto just kind of naturally came up in a conversation. We talked a little bit about what licensing would look like, how I would be offering it. I jumped right in because I'm a big Pirate fan. I love college sports. I love basketball, specifically Pirate basketball. We're doing phenomenal right now. And so it's a really cool way for me to give back to my university and also share more of my pesto with Pirate fans. So I don't have it in front of me, but the Pirate Pesto is a private label that we have a collaboration with Seton Hall Athletics, more specifically through their NIL program. So it'd be called Onward Setonia. And it comes in any of the existing flavors. So I want to make sure that I kind of clear that up a little bit because
I was
I
gonna
don't
ask
want
what flavor.
Mm.
totally, because if, for example, Gabby, if you really love the garlic lovers, but you want to support Seton Hall Athletics, I don't want to have to hold you to, well, you can only buy the Fra Diavolo, right? So it's an existing label that can be placed on either our traditional, our garlic lovers, or our Fra Diavolo. That way, whatever your personal flavor preference is, you can still support our team and you can still have delicious pesto. So that's the unique culmination between Pirate Pesto. We have some exciting things coming and happening. I can't talk about them just yet, but be for sure to stay in tune with that. And plus, it's a fun way to unite something really delicious and local sports. I feel like I know Josh, you're really big into sports. Gabby, I'm not sure if you have a big team that you're a fan of,
I am
but
not a sports
No,
person.
I'm
that's
I'm
okay.
I'm
Maybe
the
the Seton
resident
Hall
sports
Pirates
fan.
will be it for you then.
When you were like, I'm gonna explain, I was like, yeah, that's for the people like me out there, not so
That's
much
okay.
in the
And
That's
depths of
you,
that.
okay.
Gabby went to University of Florida, but you went before NIL was very prominent. Players were still fighting for it at the tail
What's
end of
NIL?
name, image, and likeness, like players being
Yeah,
able
I
to
don't think
profit
the
off
girls
of their
out
name,
there.
image, and likeness.
No, I might even say girls. I don't know if all of our listeners know this because
No,
my
but
friends don't.
but at the tail end of when I was at Syracuse, that
Yeah.
started to be more of a thing where players could get paid for brand deals. So that was my senior year when it really became
Okay,
a thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
got it. So they're representing Pesto Joe.
Not specifically, but that's a good question. So, for example, to break down the name, image, likeness, if you, Gabby, were an athlete, pick a sport. What sport did you play or would you like to be really good
I
at
played
if you could?
tennis as a child.
Tennis. Okay, fantastic. So, if you played tennis for, did you say what was the university?
Florida. No, I did not play for
No,
college.
but like
No, that's okay. But
University
what
of
college did
Florida.
you go
Oh,
to?
University
University
of
of Florida?
Florida.
So, say you played tennis for University of Florida. And Jersey Mike, or I guess this is very New Jersey of me. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what is
I
near your
love Jersey
college. I
Mike's.
immediately went to Jersey Mike's. Say Jersey Mike's wants you to do a commercial for their sub. You legally, as a college athlete, couldn't have taken that promotional professional deal. But because of name, image, likeness, they can use either your name, a photo of you, or something related to you in their ads, and you can get paid for it.
Yep.
So
Got it.
that's what that is. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you for explaining. I think that was helpful.
Yeah, no problem.
So between sourcing the ingredients, food safety, packaging, shipping, what part of that process itself in the supply chain, if you will, has been the hardest to figure out?
Ooh, I think they all have their own sticker of difficult and frustrating at their own moments and times. Right off the bat, I remember it being really difficult to find enough basil and the quality of basil that we needed, especially coming from the immediate, I used to grow it myself and make it to now I need a commercial scale amount. Especially being in New Jersey, half the year it's snowing. So if anything's in the ground, it's dead. What do I do with that? So we were able to drive around, find local farms. Thankfully, we're in the Garden State, so there's a lot of great farms, family-owned farms that we could reach out to that I'm happy to have developed relationships with. Some of our farmers have greenhouses, so such as right now when you had your order, I was able to go pick up the fresh basil and make that directly for you, no problem. Versus when some of our farmers have it in the ground during the summer, I can rely on them for any back orders that the greenhouse might have, such as in the winter, I'm a little bit more tied down. But I will share this, and it might lead into another question that I think you might bring up, but just for fun and giggles. Shipping was something that I didn't initially think of when I was starting this business, especially because it was so locally hyper focused on the communities and the farmers markets that I'm directly serving.
Mhm.
And it was so B2C, like me selling to you specifically as the customer. Shipping wasn't anything I thought of until it was a problem. So News 12 reached out to us. I'm so happy that they did. We were able to do a spotlight series. I was able to bring my mom on, talk about our flavors, talk about who and what I'm doing, who I am and what we're doing at Pesto Joe. And we offered samples. We had a lot of fun. It aired. I was kicking myself because if you watch those clips, you can see me get a little bit emotional as I still do. I didn't plug the website to even say, oh, order online, because it wasn't even something that I was anticipating anyone doing
Mhm.
just because I was so excited to share. And I was floored with the amount of orders that came onto our website. And I hadn't yet figured out shipping or even offering shipping at the time because when someone would order, it was to local communities that I would visit on a weekly basis and I would drive to. So when I'm up in northern Passaic County and I have 12 orders in Tom's River, which is like, I don't know, like 2 hours away, that was something I was not
Problem.
anticipating. Yeah, that's a problem. So I was very happy to see all the orders come in. I sat with my mom, and now knowing that, of course, our pesto was fresh and I'm able to ship it in an insulated container now, I didn't have all of those preparations yet. I wasn't aware, I didn't have the education to understand how to do that yet. I didn't have any of the materials to ship it yet. So, as entrepreneurs do, we roll with the punches. So my mom and I sat at the kitchen table. We laid out a map. We marked each one as to what flavor to go in what cooler, first in, first out. I have a big pickup truck, packed the back of the pickup truck up with coolers. And my mom and I spent 10 and a half hours driving to every single person's door, hand delivering the pesto to say, thank you for
Oh
ordering. We're
my
so
God.
happy to serve this to you. And those are one of the moments where I really do wish I had a camera on me because it would have just been such a precious moment for a memory and I would have loved to share online too. I think that's just a great moment. But I can replay through each one. Some individuals were just starstruck as if I was like a Kardashian that popped up in front of them because I was on their TV. They bought my pesto and I'm at their door, which was hysterical and funny. Some of them were a little bit more like shocked because they're used to Amazon dropping and leaving, but because I didn't have any insulated boxes, I needed to make sure they were there. Some families invited me into their home. They introduced me to their family. I got to meet their dogs. So it was just a really fun time and a moment that it was definitely hard in the moment, knowing I didn't know how to ship, but rolling with the punches turned into a beautiful memory.
I love
That's
that.
so
Yeah.
funny. That's something I would do.
That is something you would
Right?
do.
But at
That
least you
is
didn't cancel the orders. Like you
your,
went through with it.
but your packaging though is better than like some companies who send perishable items who are like have like 500 people working for the company. Like I
Oh,
opened it,
wow. Well,
I was
thank
like, oh
you.
my God. I was like, this is really like the frozen like bags, the one-time use
Yep.
bags, those are great. And shout out to my
Good.
doorman for keeping it in the fridge before I picked it up
Oh, that's
because that
awesome.
was
That's a great doorman. Shout
I
out to
know
him.
they both James and Elvis get props for that
Nice.
because I
I was
was
gonna
worried
say
about
say
that.
their names.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. James listens to the podcast. I know he does. So
Oh,
thank you,
shout out
James.
James.
Yeah,
Shout out James.
We play fork yeah or fork no, which
Okay.
essentially is just like yes or no,
yeah.
but play on the podcast. And we came up with some questions about pesto to hear your thoughts about it.
Okay.
Some of them might be a no-brainer for you, other ones might be more of like a debate. So,
Okay.
with that being said, here's our fork yeah, fork no segment. Josh, you could kick us off.
This is kind of a trending topic because there's some restaurants in New York City that do this pesto on pizza.
I'm a fork yeah for that. I'm a big pesto pizza person. I have not seen the tie-dye pizza, but that sounds phenomenal. Like all the sauces in one sounds great.
I think I
And
second that.
is there a fork no that you're like you cannot eat pesto with that? That's so disgusting.
You know what? I'm totally someone who is not going to yuck someone's yum.
We
You
are.
want to put my pesto on a shoe and eat it? You're welcome to try. Uh, I don't currently, I mean, I don't have that many things that I don't eat, if I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, the one thing that I really don't like is canned tuna. So I wouldn't put pesto on canned tuna. But it's not to knock that the pesto wouldn't make a phenomenal canned tuna. I just don't like canned tuna.
Mm.
So
Um,
you're saying you could put it on anything?
yeah, I would put it on anything. Spread, dip, sauce by the spoonful, lay it on your hand and lick it, whatever you want to do. It's
I put
great.
it on French fries. Like, I mean, I have
Oh,
pasta
Yeah,
with
what
that's
about
ketchup
neat.
fruit?
sometimes, so
Fruit.
See, that's a
See,
fork no for me.
I feel like I should have it in front of me, like a Jimmy Fallon spin the table, put it in your mouth and tell me how you feel about it. Uh,
I don't think it belongs
I,
on fruit.
I don't know if it does, but I also feel like if you're in the weird moment, it's savory and sweet, and that's a
Okay.
thing.
So you're really not
Yeah.
opposed to any combination, which is great.
Yeah, I'm not. I feel like my Italian ancestors might be, but for the time being, I'm just gonna let it fly.
What about eating pesto like straight off the spoon?
I do it all the time. Pork,
I
yeah.
think I could do that.
mixing pesto
Yeah.
with red sauce.
I have not yet done that. I have had customers that have done that and it looks really good. I have done it with an Alfredo sauce and I have to say that's phenomenal. So
Okay.
fork yes to that. I would maybe dollop it so like you can see the beautiful like red and green instead of you mixing it in. I'm sure that it would add great flavor to it and cut down the acidity of the tomato. But for the fun of plating the dish, I feel like plopping the pesto on the red would look really nice. A side note, something that we do for Christmas is my mom and I buy red raviolis and then we put our green pesto on it. So it's red and green and it looks really fancy and it's really yummy. So to the
Yum.
point, I don't know if you had said fish, you said berries, but fish and pesto, phenomenal.
I've
So
had
good.
fish and
So
pesto. That
good.
is really good. I know you said pine nuts is in your pesto right now. What do you feel about making a vegan pesto? Because I imagine that's really hard.
It can be hard. We actually use a walnut just in case somebody has a pine nut allergy. So the walnut is unique to where my dad's from in Italy. So similar to wine in Italy, depending on where you are in the region, you're going to use some different substitutes of different ingredients. So we
Mm.
have a walnut. There, it's still considered a tree nut, so you can still have an allergy for it. So to answer the question, we have attempted to do a vegan friendly, but I've put the brakes on a little bit because I want it to taste as good, if not really close to it. And a lot of the
Mhm.
substitutes add an odd flavor to me. Not to say that a customer wouldn't enjoy it. I think I just have to kind of table it literally in front of my customers, have them try and get that real time feedback. We did do, and we do have our honey garlic that comes out in the fall. So sometime like between September and November and we have it for a couple of months, and that does not have a cheese in it. But trying to find a cheese substitute and a nut substitute
It
takes
doesn't have to be
both.
both at once
It
in this
doesn't, I think,
hypothetical.
yeah, that's true.
But that's really hard for someone who's allergic to everything.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I'm almost trying to consider having one friendly option for anyone with an allergy, which I guess is why I was leaning to saying dairy-free and nut-free, because then either way, whichever way you lean on that, you have an option. Instead of me having a nut-free and a dairy-free, that's just a lot to do in my production line. So we did a honey supplement because it adds like as a congealing agent, so it helps keep everything together like the cheese or the nut would do. Except if you're hyper vegan, which I found that some people are, it's honey, so you can't eat honey, versus some vegans are friendly to it.
Uh,
It's like this totally interesting micro bubble of everything you have
yeah,
to think about.
that comes from a
So
bee,
yeah, it comes from a bee.
so that doesn't
Um,
work.
it does not work currently, but it's something, it's a challenge worth exploring. I don't yet have the answer for it, but it's definitely something I have front of mind. When I was starting this business and before I had even sold anything, I knew the name that I wanted to run this under was in memory of my dad with his nickname Pesto Joe. And I was so happy to know that no one owned that name. And so I took the initiative to trademark it. Now, for either of you who've ever gone into copyright, patent, trademark law, it gets very expensive very quickly.
Hmm.
And thankfully, I was able to reach out to Seton Hall Law School and get a friend who was a student, and we were able to work that back end way to where it was more affordable to me and not have a corporate retainer to have to apply to that. And here's a photo of my dad too. Hang on, let me I don't know if I can take it off of the fuzz. Can you see him?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Jets fan, huh?
That's, yeah,
Me
Jets fan.
too. Yeah.
His other nickname was Broadway Joe. So
Oh,
Pesto Joe and Broadway Joe.
yes.
love it.
And so I have him on the trademark form that's right here that I don't know if you can see
Yeah,
it.
I could see. It's a little
A
blurry, but I
little
could.
blurry, but yeah. Wait, that's so
Anyway,
cool.
so thank you. So it says Pesto Joe on it, of course. So I was floored to own the name because I wouldn't want to operate this under anything else.
Hmm.
But a cool God wink moment that I like to call it was so my dad passed June 25th, 2021. And then when I applied for this trademark, call it sometime in 2023 or 2024. And the office there takes a long time and you have no control over it. You can either get a refusal letter or you get the signed certificate in the mail. I got the certificate in the mail and it's stamped June 25th,
Wow.
2024, like the exact day, just 3 years later,
Yeah.
or 2 years, one, two,
Yeah.
three, yeah, 3 years later.
Yeah, that
That's
was meant to be.
yeah.
So really special. So I always have this on the bookshelf behind me over there, but I definitely wanted to share that here too.
Thank you so much to Carina of Pesto Joe for joining this episode of Fork This City. And for anyone listening, she has been so gracious enough to give our listeners a discount. Discount code is Fork This Pesto, 20% off any order, including Pirate Pesto, from February 1st to February 28th. It's perfect for your Valentine's Day gifts, your Super Bowl Sunday, and anyone else who wants to try Pesto Joe. Carina, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we're gonna have a giveaway coming soon, so one of our lucky winners will get to try Pesto Joe.
Fuck this.